All praise is due to Allah, and peace be upon His chosen servants. To proceed, by the grace of Allah, we are still continuing our blessed and virtuous series titled The Tolerance of Islam. And by Allah's grace, I am still speaking with you about the gentle tolerance shown by Umar ibn Al-Khattab towards the people of the book. Previously, we discussed the great, noble and honorable stance of Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, and grant him contentment towards an elderly man from among the people of the book. And pay attention, whenever I mention Shaykh, I mean the elderly man, the Shaykh. Yes. In the Arabic language, Shaykh refers to an old man, meaning someone who is over 40 years old. We call him a Shaykh, we call him a Shaykh. But I am not talking about a Shaykh in the sense of a religious scholar or in religious matters. The important point is Umar ibn Al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him and grant him contentment, did not leave him, to put it very briefly so I can move on to the new topic. Umar ibn Al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him and grant him contentment, while walking like this in Medina, found a man begging at the door of a house. He was an elderly man from among the people of the book. Very old, the kind of elder or aged man I mentioned to you earlier. This is the important part. Umar looked at him and saw that he was a blind man, meaning he was also blind, advanced in age, and sitting there begging at the doors. Umar took him by the arm and said to him, "Come." He asked him, "What has led you to do this? What made you act this way? Why? Why are you knocking on doors and begging like this?" The man replied, "Old age and the jizya, I am in need because of both. I am very old, I can't work or earn a living at all, and not only that, but I am also required to pay the jizya." So Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, took him to his own house, fed him, gave him something to drink, and then gave him something from his own home. That is, he gave him the best of what he had at home, money, food, and so on. Then he sent for the person in charge of the treasury of the Muslims and said, "Allocate for this man and for those like him and for his peers and those in similar situations." Meaning, set up a stipend for them, give them a monthly allowance from which they can eat and live. Why? Because it is unjust for us to benefit from these people in their youth and then abandon them. Meaning, we take from them in their youth like the jizyan, then leave these people in their old age to beg and knock on doors. That is not just. Look at Umar ibn Al-Khattab. May Allah be pleased with him even. Though any group or any prison, whether they overpowered another side or collected the very small, simple jizya in exchange for the protection Muslims provided to the people of the book. No, they used to take something very burdensome that weighed heavily on people. But look at the situation here, look at this. No, Umar ibn Al-Khattab was not satisfied with just that at all. He said, remove the jizya from people like this and from their dependents, and those in similar situations, remove the jizya from them. Not only that, but if they had no income, he and his family would also receive a monthly stipend from the Muslims' treasury. Allahu Akbar, all of that together. Come with me to this truly beautiful scene. Umar ibn Al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, during the conquest of the Levant, specifically at the conquest of Al-Jabiyah. What happened, everyone, when he arrived at Al-Jabiyah in the land of the Levant? Of course, his garment was worn out from the long journey and had become soiled and so on. Look at what happened. He borrowed the garment from a Christian man. He borrowed the garment from a Christian man. From a Christian man. Yes, a man who was also large in build and so on. So Umar ibn Al-Khattab borrowed a garment from him, took off his own garment and gave it to his companions to wash and take care of until they had washed it, mended it and fixed it up and so on. Then he took off this garment and gave it to whom? To the Christian man. Someone said, yes, that's tolerance. After all, Umar was in front of thousands of Muslims, but he wanted to demonstrate tolerance towards these people, and he wanted to teach Muslims when it comes to dealing and interacting with the people of the book, just how far that should go. The Caliph himself would even borrow a garment from a Christian until his own garment was washed and so on, and then he would return it to him once his shirt was mended and washed and so on. Not only that, but he also performed ablution from a jug belonging to a Christian woman, jug being a clay vessel used to store water. Umar ibn Al-Khattab, may God be pleased with him, performed ablution from it, yet someone might say, don't use it, it's a Christian woman's jug. They claim you can't know if the water is pure and so on. They become strict and make things difficult for you. Are you better than Umar ibn Al-Khattab? Are you more knowledgeable than Umar ibn Al-Khattab? If you look at how he interacted in these matters and so on, you'll realize who is being overly strict and making things difficult for you. But glory be to God, look at the ease and tolerance. Umar ibn Al-Khattab performed ablution from a jug belonging to a Christian woman. Someone might ask me, Sheikh, where did you get this information from, our respected scholar? Together, Al-Lahfan is the source I'm mentioning to you for this incident and the ones before it. Relief for the distressed from the traps of Satan. By the great Salafi scholar, Imam ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, may God have mercy on him. Even if you just refer to Al-Qayyim or Ibn Al-Qayyim, may God have mercy on him. This truly great book, volume 1, pages 13 and 157. Look at the incidents he mentioned in that context. All right, there is a very important point, everyone. During the conquest of Al-Jabiyah, when Umar arrived there, the people, the Christian inhabitants, sent a message to Umar ibn Al-Khattab. We are inviting you to a meal at our church. You can sit, be our guests, and eat with us in the church. They had prepared a lot of food. Umar ibn Al-Khattab, may God be pleased with him, instructed Ali to take the men and go to the church. So they went to the church, sat inside and ate the food. Ali, may God be pleased with him, even looked around and said, what harm would it have done Omar if he had come and eaten with us in this place? Pay close attention to this. Someone might say to me, oh, but Omar himself didn't go. Umar ibn Al-Khattab sent Ali, and Ali is one of those promised paradise, and Ali Khalifa Rashid. And it's unthinkable that Umar ibn Al-Khattab would command something sinful or send people to do something wrong. It was Omar who gave this order. Omar instructed Ali to take the men, go together and eat in the church. And Ali himself says this, it would not have harmed Omar if he had come and eaten with us in this place. I say this to everyone. I say to non-Muslims before Muslims, so they can see how tolerant Islam is, and so they can see the extent of Muslims' tolerance throughout the ages. I tell them, look at the tolerance of Islam and the tolerance of Muslims, and do not judge by the actions of a few deviants, those whom, God forbid, Muslims themselves have disavowed. Muslims have renounced their crimes, like those of ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Abu Haram, and those few criminals in Somalia who call themselves the jihad movement and all that nonsense. We declare before God our innocence from them and their actions. What we want is for you to take the religion itself. God said, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, this is our religion. God said, the Messenger said, and then, look, you must follow my sunnah, or as our Prophet says, and the sunnah of the rightly guided caliphs after me. I will keep bringing you examples of tolerance. Here it is, from the sunnah of our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and from the sunnah of the rightly guided caliphs who came after the Messenger of God, so that you may witness the tolerance of Islam in its highest meanings and forms. Until I meet you again in the next episode, I say to everyone, peace be upon you all, and the mercy and blessings of God